release the judgment. Mindfulness really is a vehicle for change, for social justice, for liberation.
So I'd like to welcome everybody to another session, another episode of Views from the Field. And we're blessed today to be with Korantema Pierce Williams, who is going to talk to us a little bit about her life, her journey, and her work. So Korantema, welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for being here. I'd like to skip the usual introduction, the way of kind of going through a biography of people's credentials and achievements and their work now. And we'll touch on that. We'll come back to it. I'd like to begin this time together with a poem, which will be familiar to many of us who have been associated with mindfulness-based stress reduction. And it's by Kabir, the mystic poet Kabir, often titled, "I said to the wanting creature inside me." I said to the wanting creature inside me, "What is this river you want to cross? There are no travelers on the river road and no road. Do you see anyone moving about on the bank or resting? There is no river at all, and no boat and no boatman. There is no tow rope either, and no one to pull it. There is no ground, no sky, no time, no ford. And there is no body and no mind. Do you believe there is some place that will make the soul less thirsty? In that great absence, you will find nothing. Be strong then and enter into your body. There you have a solid place for your feet. Think about it carefully. Don't go off somewhere else. Kabir says this: just throw away all thoughts of imaginary things and stand firm in that in which you are. I choose this as an introduction to you because I sense that you are somebody who stands firm in that in which she is. So maybe the first question would be, if this indeed is true, where does that emanate from? Where does the strength, however you'd like to frame it, I don't want to put words to it even because I don't know how you see it, but maybe you could talk towards it.
Well, I believe we're thinking of the same thing when we say it. And I believe that it stems from my life as a priest. And with traditional spirituality, there is a foundation that comes with many parallels to what we call mindfulness. So I've been really honored to walk this path in this way and be able to see, oh, so-and-so, oh, I remember this, or oh, that looks familiar, or oh, this is new, whatever the thing, and still be able to align with it. It comes from a long, long line of folks who are no longer on this realm. The ancestors, the divinities, all who walk with me, all whose lives I've learned from, all those who have carved the way. Many seen and unseen, some known and unknown. Some I've been able to exchange with, and others I've only, like I said, learned or read about. So I'd say that there's no one thing, but recognizing that my ancestry is integral to being a bridge as I am. between traditional and modern.
I want to tell a story, and I don't want to make this episode about me and reading poems and my stories, but I'm intrigued to kind of see if there's a connection here in some way. Because your full name that I know of it's longer than this, I believe, but Nana Korantema Pierce Williams. Maybe you could speak your full name.
It is long.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't speak my full name just because of this setting. It's only done on certain occasions because of my life as a priest. But you're right. There are about 4 more names. So I was like, well, I probably need to just choose a couple. Each name has been given as a part of lineage. It's associated with ancestry. There's title, and there is family. There's also number, like my godmother's 5th priest, if you will. So Anum is one of my names.
Thank you for that. And I appreciate, respecting that.
Yeah.
So is it appropriate to talk towards Nana Korantema, putting the Nana in there, which I understand to mean, as you explained a little bit ago, priest?
It's a title given to a priest or perhaps the child of a priest. Mm-hmm. But then I also know, like you, folks who are Nana, who are grandmothers. Yeah. So in either end, we've got that maternal presence, right? That maternal kind of running of things, bringing the order.
Yeah, and that's the story I want to drop into for a moment, briefly, of another Nana who I have taken all these years to kind of signify grandmother, because she was the grandmother of my Lomi teacher when I lived in Hawaii. But it could have more of a priest-like significance. She was an elder in the community and highly respected. But to talk about her journey in reference of standing firm in that in which you are, she grew up in Hawaii by Pearl Harbor when Pearl Harbor was just a fishing village. And in the late 20s, early 30s, took on 13 children that she adopted and gave them a home. And for a time, they didn't have a home. They were sleeping in what's called in Honolulu the Nanatorium, which is a saltwater pool that Duka Hanamoko used to hang out at, and Johnny Weissmuller back in those days. So she went from that, adopting 13 children and from the fishing village, to exploring different aspects of mind. And one of those was people who, and I don't know anything about it, but they work with the science of mind. And she went through many changes in her life along the way. She ended up, I'll skip, to shorten the story. She ended up at a Zen center on Oahu. And in some ways, I don't know if she became a Zen priest, but she definitely became a respected elder of the community, and everybody would come to her when they had problems for advice. And she wrote a book about this journey from fishing village to Zen center called Change We Must. And the intention of the book was to relate this to people that life is a journey, of course, and through it, there are many changes, but we must is the part that really has the power and stays with me, that we must change. So when you talk, and this leads me to a question, when you talk about sitting with the ancestors, and this is part of it, how did this move in your life? When did you recognize this? How have these changes occurred? Were you always, brought up in this tradition and feeling the way you feel now, or were there changes that you went through?
Well, there's been an involvement And I think this is something that all of us go through. And with each choice we make, it places us on the path of those also seeking. And there's a season that you're with certain people, or several seasons that you're with other folks. And this through a variety of means, whether it's prophecy or dreams or, my biological family and all the ways my path aligned. And I think trust is a huge part of that. There's a faith in the trust in doing the work, going into training, going into priesthood, abstaining, the taboos, taking the time to learn the tradition, to learn the protocols, to see the parallels, and release the judgment. That's a big one for me. It's ongoing, but that was a big one. You never think that you're doing a thing until there's some growth and you're able to experience some hindsight. And it's like, I guess in answer to your question at the core, it's, may I ever evolve? May I never stop growing and expanding. I anticipate this continuing beyond even where I can think of it in this moment. I have that much trust and faith in my alignment and who I am on this physical realm, and who walks with me and how I arrived here. And there is no coincidence for me. I can only speak of my experience. So I know that it's divine that I'm even here on this call with this specific configuration of folks. So, I just believe everything's in order, divine order. And we have will, and we can either move with that or not. And either is good for us because that's where we are. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that too. And maybe that's why I feel I've known you for a lot longer than an hour or so. I want to get to know you even deeper. So the big question is, who are we? And in terms of a setting like this, it's to learn who are you. And we know something about the word priest. We don't know really the depth of that word, what's under that. And I know you as an MBSR teacher and trainer, and I'd like to touch on that. So where would you like to move towards kind of unpacking?
Wow, that's a lot.
Okay, let's take it one at a
Yeah,
time.
all right, let's see.
Yeah, let's take it one at a time. Who are you?
I am the highly favored daughter of James and Geraldine Pierce. I am a priest in the lens of I'm a spiritualist, much like any other tradition where you have a path of priesthood. There were years I had to, like I kind of alluded to, there were certain things I couldn't do, certain things I had to do. There were exams, there were tests. There were periods where I wanted to run away, but fortunately didn't. And if I did, I came back. I am a warrior. I am a spiritualist. I am an activist. I am a person who stands for marginalized folk. I am a bridge between that which is traditional and that which is just beyond the future. I am a visionary. I am a healer. I am the person who will stand up, even if I have to stand alone on the physical realm, because I recognize that there are those who are with me who have my back. And that's the only reason why I'm even here today. I am a seeker of balance and truth. I am a serious concert goer. I am happily married to my spouse. I am a mom. I am a sister. I am a confidant. I am incredibly shy at times. I am amazingly audacious at times, and all points in between. I am a firm believer that mindfulness really is a vehicle for change, for social justice, for liberation, mainly because it is a vehicle for us to slow down. And in slowing down, we're able to, one, recognize that we needed to unplug long ago. And two, we get to hear what's happening. We get to shift the relationship with ourselves and create new narrative with our body wisdom. We get to respect nature and honor her in all her ways. We get to connect with serious sources like water, just being at the water, how healing. We get to prioritize taking care of ourselves. And I get to lead people in that. As you said, I'm a teacher trainer. I love this. I get to teach people how to teach people to go back within. What an honor.
I believe that to be able to say I am is a real key towards manifesting anything with that intention of that standing firm again in that in which you are. I am this, and you become that. You are that. So as a spiritual warrior and a visionary, what are you seeing? And I will leave it up to you whether you want to talk about in teaching, in the field, in society, wherever you want to go with that. What would you like to say about what you're seeing from that spiritual warrior visionary point of I am?
I see continued parallel with my life as a priest and the work that I do to help people in that lane, and how my life as a facilitator, a consultant, a teacher trainer of mindfulness-based stress reduction specifically. I see these aligning, and I see and am experiencing the ripples that are taking place from the teachers that have been in my cohort. And I'm saying my cohort, but it's me, and I have a teaching bench that I'm working with. So it's not at all just me. But the work that we're doing, the opportunity to see our mentees going into these spaces and teaching MBSR and planting these seeds. And there are pros and cons to virtual, right? But there's something to be said for someone in Japan being in your cohort, being a participant. So the reach has been amazing. And so the ripples are far. So we're seeing these shifts, and we're recognizing just how powerful our individual electromagnetic fields are, and we're recognizing that we are affecting change. So it's going to take time, but what an honor to be on the forefront of the first 100 years of mindfulness as we know it, right? So there's something to be said about doing this work at this time, specifically as a Black woman too. So it's just been amazingly powerful. I'm so honored because I know that my path is being ordered. I'm clear in my faith, I'm clear in my truth, and I'm comfortable continuing to follow that path, leading me into these different spaces and venues and conversations, much like this one.
Yeah, I see the field as changing, and you're part of that forefront of change within bringing an awareness to within the field how much we have been white, and how people of color as teachers are being honored and brought into the field. You are at the forefront of that within the grant that UCSD has obtained. And I wonder if you could speak towards that, this opportunity and the work as you know it from the inside that's being done.
I'm just really thankful for the Katali monies that have been granted, because you're right. I've been able to help many BIPOC folk go through this teacher training program. And it has been life-changing. Folks who would never have crossed paths are now co-facilitating together.
Mhm.
And the ability to bring that kind of diversity, the ability to recognize the need and then follow through with access, and then create space so that this work can be done and be ongoing, is necessary. And I'm just so thankful that Larry Wang and all who work with him at Katali saw the need, you know, and only because Beth Mulligan,
Mhm.
who's my mentor, knew Larry Wang, and the conversation they had evolved us to this point. And we need our allies, just like we need to be present and in the room as Black folks, as BIPOC folks. And it's necessary that we bring diversity to all sectors of our existence in society. You know, this is no different. So yeah, it's necessary. And I'm thankful to help affect change the way we are.
Change we must as a society as well as people. So you serve on the board, and you are the chair of the Mindfulness Advisory Committee and faculty within the InnerWork Center in Powhatan Land, aka Richmond.
Powhatan.
Powhatan, thank you. Richmond, Virginia, where you curate culturally sensitive safe spaces via training and facilitation. So, what is a culturally sensitive safe space within that context?
If I'm teaching a cohort virtually and I've got someone from Tokyo, I'm going to be mindful around that all-day retreat that we always have from 9 to 6 or 9, whatever the 9 to whatever is. I'm going to make sure that it starts at a time that's respecting that, okay, in Tokyo, it's 11 p.m. So instead of expecting them to just stay up after a work day, right? I'd be tired at 11. I'm going to make sure that we start the all day at a time that is good for everybody. You know, that would be an example of making sure it's culturally sensitive. With the poetry, I'm going to make sure that I've got BIPOC authors. We love the authors that come with the original information and content, but it's important that people know their own voice and they have authors who are speaking in that voice. So I really bring a diverse presence to my spaces because people need to know that. And this is whether it's all BIPOC or whether it's all white or no matter the makeup, I insert that. I think it's very, very important. I think it's important for a lot of reasons, but the foremost one would be because it helps us to decolonize. I think it helps us to unpack how colonized we all are when we begin to hear these different tongues, these different expressions of experiences. And then as it lands on you, it kind of shifts something, you know, because you take it in and there's a new awareness, you know, as you take it in. And I'm just honored to be even a part of that, because even that is a daily thing of decolonizing ourselves.
You talk a lot about being a bridge between the traditional and now, whatever now might be, the present, the contemporary.
Mm-hmm.
How do you see that? How do you see what you're bridging and moving?
When I say bridge, I'm talking specifically of my priesthood training is traditional. It has origin in Ghana, West Africa. And so when we have a spirituality not a religion, but a spirituality, meaning a way of life, there are many practices that you won't find in a book. It's a tradition that's passed down generationally. And actually, over the last maybe 10 years, is there beginning to kind of surface books that are talking about the Akom tradition, which is in Ghana specifically, AKOM. So there's that. I come from that space, that grounding, that learning, that knowledge base. And I'm able to bridge with entities in higher education, with entities in spaces like this, with entities that wouldn't normally connect with folks there for whatever reason. So I get to bridge. And in that bridging, I get to help shift mindsets. I help to folks to understand what it is to change the relationship with stress. There's a different kind of trust that's there, knowing my point of origin as I reach out to not just marginalized communities, but folks who don't necessarily see people who look like me as facilitator, and especially as teacher trainer. Yeah, I still have folks who come into my spaces and want to question if I know what I'm doing, but trust, I handle them nicely. You know, I do to let them know who I am. Because we're, daily, I recognize that this is colonized mind all over again. And mindfulness is not exempt, right?
Yeah,
So
certainly.
It's on me to be one of the disruptors. And I welcome that because I know who I am.
So how would you disrupt the field? How would you suggest we move forward in a way to?
Collectively, I would offer, or is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Collectively, I would say co-teach with a person of color.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you and the person you co-teach with kind of look alike, think alike, are alike at core, shift it up. Find a person who is a person of color, a BIPOC person, and co-teach with them. Or take a class from a person of color. And I guess the biggest piece would be to do some research around if you have allyship. Because there's a lot of learning and unlearning for all of us. So maybe some folks don't even know that they need to unlearn some things. So this is where the research comes in. And you can't expect, BIPOC folk to teach you everything. You've got to be intentional with doing the work, with finding an affinity group, maybe starting an affinity group, with being intentional with how you show up in spaces that are diverse, not just spaces that are comfortable.
So this is also part of the change we must. And do you know, you bring up research, do you know of any research that's looked at this, the co-teaching arrangement, or how programs are influenced when different cultures come together, teaching cultures?
I'll tell you that the research is lacking because as everyone on here I'm sure knows, it's just pretty much white folks who are in the research. There's never been an interest because BIPOC folks just have not had access, or whatever the reason. Mindfulness and research and BIPOC individuals just didn't coincide. But now we're going to see those shifts. Now we're beginning to see works get produced. Now we're seeing these works happen and take place. And we've got control groups and we've got diverse authors bringing this juiciness, So
what would you say to, if you speak towards what you see in the youth of today, how young people are being educated, how they're moving into society? Do you have anything that might...
The stressors that youth of today have to contend with is nothing at all like what I had to contend with growing up. But this is such a society that we exist in that leans into being plugged in. So it's a default, if you will, and you've got all these youth in autopilot, and we're telling them they shouldn't be doing this or they should be doing that. But at the same time, we're flashing these phones and, hey, don't you want this? Don't you want that? So my heart goes out to youth because we're sending such mixed messages to them, and we're expecting them to make adult decisions as adults who aren't giving them real choices. It's almost like a catch-22. So all that to say, I'm just extremely proud of the youth who show up and who are doing what they can with what they have. And even my daughter, who will see this one day, this footage, and she's going to say, "Really, Ma? Are you sure you mean that?" I'm going to say, "Yeah, remember the ebb and flow, right?" So my heart just goes out in any way I can help. I'm so open. I love working with youth. Kids are experts with mindfulness, and they're so fun to work with. They'll tell you in a moment what the deal is. And I love that because that's the spirit that kind of gets deadened once we put them in these walls called schools that don't always allow them the freedom to learn what's good for them.
I'm hearing a lot of hope.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you're talking towards. So
and I don't even know if it's hope or it's time. It's time. And all the hope from all the ancestors is now manifested into the time is now.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to leave us with, to something that you want to say that you haven't had a chance to say, or any thoughts or insights?
I purposely didn't look at any other of these recordings because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't want to be tainted. So I was like, I'm just going to go in and we'll just flow. And it's just been really good to talk with you and to hold space in this way. I'm thankful for all the folks who were on, and I'm just really with such deep gratitude to you and to Beth and Larry and John and Zaida and Michael, and just all the people who I work with, all of the wildflower cohort. That's the name of the first BIPOC cohort, the Wildflowers. Just with deep gratitude to all of them and my ancestors. So I just wanted to speak that.
Well, thank you, Korantema, and many blessings to you as you move into your work in the field more and more and more, and may you teach and teach and teach many, many, many teachers.
Thank you for that. I receive.
Click down below to join our Mindfulness Teacher Community Network on Facebook, where you are invited to post and share. Also, subscribe to Sing to the Mountain Studio. Ring the bell so you don't miss out on future recordings.